I guess I'll start. So this overall presentation is about one survey that we had spread with among ERGA members, and we used it to generate a lot of work that I'm going to be presenting as subset today, but hopefully you can have access to this set of slides I put in the minutes already, and then the additional resources that we create, it's actually here presented as links, so you can click around and then go to them. But for those that are new to GoaT, I just have the set of standard slides just to explain a little bit of what GoaT is, right? GoaT is called Genomes on a Tree. It is a data system. It is a database. It has its own query language, and it's basically a place where we aggregate metadata that is helpful for sequencing genomes. That includes data from assemblies, right, of the metadata, the statistics, quality metrics, analysis, but also things that help prioritize genome sequencing, like distribution of species, country lists, um, genome size, assembly span. So several types of metadata that are in parallel used to sequence genomes. In addition, we also have data from the EBP, so the Earth Biogenome Project, including ERGA and other projects that have submitted their lists so we can track their progress. So list of species, what they are targeting, what they wish to sequence, and how they are coming along while they do it. So GoaT is a powerful API. It's built on top of this massive code base that will do a bunch of things according to endpoints. So there are endpoints for you to search, there are endpoints for you to look up species. This is all accessible via the API, which is in this link here. There is a documented API where you can follow the process. The main reasons that this API is very reliable and strong for the, how do I say, it is built to accept the massive amount of data that we'll have after a few years of big projects and bulk genome sequencing, right? And then we have also a web interface that we call the GoaT UI, and then a command line interface. But what you need to know is that the GoaT web itself, it is a window for the power that the API has. So if you want to bulk retrieve, it was really built for people to use and get a lot of data and data combinations from the service. But the good thing is that anything that you can get in the API is translatable and you can actually see as a preview in the UI. And this is what people normally use. So regular people like us, we check the website, and this is the website, and then we get data out of it, right? It might be a lot of data, it might be just checking for data from one species. The good thing is that all of the information that we store in this data store, it is accessible via the UI. So there is taxonomic information that we usually populate everything using the backbone taxonomy of NCBI, and but also complemented with synonyms, lineage information, and then assembly metadata, karyotype, all of this other metadata that helps people check about their species. We have another set or another endpoint where people can find information of things that have been done. So the assembly information directly. But what makes GoaT different from other repositories is that it generates estimates, right? There is a lot of, well, there is more data lacking out there for specific things like genome size than available data. So GoaT tries to minimize this by inferring some of the values based on the closest node. So if your species don't have genome size information available, it will create one based on the closest relatives. And that's actually helpful for people that are producing genomes at large scale, because they sometimes need to quote, right, the value, and based on the genome size, how much they will spend to generate that genome. So the estimates are there for people to look and make informed decisions. Do they want to use it? Is it relevant enough? But GoaT also provides the information back in the tree where it's coming from. So then the users can be empowered to make the decision if they want to use that data or not. And finally, we have planning in progress from the Earth Biogenome Project. So this is how it looks like. We have several sources populating GoaT, and mainly we have two ways of starting to query, right? We can query at the taxon level, so taxonomic genus or species, and you enter that data, or you can query in the assembly index. The difference being that the assembly index only have data that is done, and the taxon index will provide information about either inferences and things that are not done yet. This is a little bit of a preview of what you get. We tried to arrange the records page so it looks a bit better, and then there are buttons to click and take people to the original sources and places to go. But once you do the query in the UI, this is usually what you see. It's a table with a bunch of columns that you can select and display only the ones that you are interested in. But we have over 70 different types of fields in the GoaT, the database itself. So as you can imagine, it's a lot of data, and it's not trivial because it has its own query language. So it might be a source of confusion. So we decided together, and it was a really nice timing because back then, I think in mid to 2024, I was trying to understand who is using GoaT, what they use GoaT for, and I was trying to come up with a solution to identify where the issues were and then to be able to improve the database with the developer. And at the same time, ERGA started doing a survey as well to try to come up with what are the issues that people are facing when they are trying to use GoaT. So together with Chiara and Luisa, we refined this query. And the main goal is to first get the new overview of within ERGA, what is the user base for GoaT and what do they need, but also to get the feedback to address issues that people have. And with the hopes that we can use whatever is learned from this survey and then apply survey for the general public as well. And with that, improve GoaT. So from October 2024, we got the results of the survey. And in 25, we've been doing a lot of improvements and trying to tackle each one of the issues raised. Yeah, I'll show, I think I mixed the order of the slides here, but the idea is that feedback alone is not doing anything, right? So we need to transform whatever we heard into actionable tasks, and that's what we try to do. So just to begin, I'll show you an overview of who responded, what is kind of, for this survey, how the user base looked like. And apparently, out of 42 responses, we had 8 new users. But most of the people that responded were probably involved in sample providing to ERGA, right? The ERGA community, it's not the general public. So of course it was a bit expected, but most of them are either sample provider or a combination of sample providers with principal investigations and project managers. But nice to see some other use cases out there too. So it's we can start planning for them, and likely they will exist in the outside of the ERGA world, right? But nice to see that most of the users will be using or plan to use GoaT at least once a month. So there is room for daily use and once a week use. And one thing that called my attention that is interesting, most of our user base actually uses the UI, right? Or prefer to use the UI to get their data. However, they do need to retrieve data in bulk. So this is something to keep in mind. And GoaT has options for download, but some people are not aware of the power and the amount of data that they can get using the API. So maybe, well, that's for commenting in the future, but maybe if they do want to use and bulk retrieve data in GoaT, we can invest more in tutorials for API usage and command line usage, right? But we'll get there. And then finally, we gave some options of what types of metadata they usually retrieve. And of course, assembly status and sequencing status are the top. But it was nice to see one specific, one user specific comments of what they are retrieving. And maybe we can use some of these data as priorities for first data curation, right? But also creating tutorials or looking out for new sources. For example, the repetitiveness of the genome is important for some people. The contacts for the projects might be better showcased. So this overall were really nice data to see organized. So most of the users identify sample providers. There is, it's all that I already said, right? UI is the preferred method. And we expect people to be bulk retrieving. Many people will be doing that. Okay, changing gears a little bit. That's, I think, what's the most important from the survey is what were the issues, right, raised by most of them, and a summary of the feedback categories. I identified around 4 main topics that can be grouped together. So the first one is communication and project transparency. So responsiveness from the curators and the developers. I mean, n equals 1 for each, but that kind of explains a little bit too. But also, people are not aware of what's being developed when it's being developed. And then sometimes we create new features and there is no time to tell people about it. So this is one issue identified, and it's really nice to hear about it because it actually helped organize a lot our planned work. Second is the technical usability. So of course there is own language to query GoaT, and it's complex. And we try to mitigate that with some approaches. Also taxonomic navigation, so finding the taxa and making sure that the taxa that you're looking at is what you're looking for. I think I want to highlight this part more than all the others, the data interpretation side of things, because GoaT has so many things and you can query in so many different ways. It's hard for the user sometimes to understand what they are getting out of that massive table or a subset of the massive table. So this is, I think, what I'll spend more time talking about in a bit. But yeah, the quality of the data, understanding where the data comes from and interpretation of the data is a big point to discuss. And then finally, the BP project coordination. So help with list preparations, what the list names or fields mean, and some educational gaps on how to submit things to GoaT or retrieve things from GoaT. So this is my first attempt at address the ERGA requests. Out of the issues identified, this file anyone can access. I tried to come up with what the issue was, propose solutions by the public, try to create tasks as effective solutions, and then address them one by one. Of course, I'm still a bit far from addressing all of them. We're a team of a few people, but we plan really to get all of these out of the way, and then people can use GoaT a bit better. So expanding a little bit on communication. All of these tasks that you can see in that Google spreadsheet are now publicly available and split into projects on the GoaT data repository. Even if you don't have GitHub, you can actually click on this link and it will take you to the list of projects that we have. But if you click on the project, you can actually see exactly what is the list of tasks that we have, which ones are in progress, which ones are blocked, which ones are in review, and which ones are done. So that way people can really see, okay, the Go team is not responding. What are they doing? They can come here and they can see exactly what we are working on. And my plan, this is organized, but my plan is to really track every single request, including emails, now on GitHub. It's hard, but that's what we plan to do moving forward. We have created several ways that people can get to the links with information on how to ask for help, right? So we have in the GoaT page now this help banner, but with the contact and explaining in each case, what can you do to contact us? And all of these, if you have the presentation, you can click and actually save this one slide for your use later. Where to follow progress, this is the GitHub, but we also implemented a similar user feedback questionnaire that people can reply, and then it arrives automatically to my email. So if people don't want to use GitHub to submit issues or problems, they can actually submit that via one of these contact points, but also fill the questionnaire if they want anonymously. So that's another option. In terms of the technical usability, one of the big issues is what to type when you get to the GoaT search box, right? So Rich is the main developer of GoaT, has been investing a lot of time in creating these chips where all of the possible subgroups of terms are arranged into colors, right? Anything that is taxonomic, you will have one color. If things go wrong, they become orange. There is a better indication to the user of when things are not totally right with the queries, but you can actually click on things and then use the buttons to fill the values. So of course you have to type your taxon still, but we try to do as less typing of the actual query terms as possible. So there is a tutorial here at the bottom and you can follow the initial steps. If that's not enough, please contact us, because then my goal is to create tutorials for where people are struggling. That might even not be necessary because Rich has just implemented now natural language query bot chat that you can access GoaT API via this MCP toolkit. And the way it works is just you open, you install, you connect your favorite agent to this toolkit, and you can start asking queries about GoaT. So how many species are in GoaT? How many have chromosome data? How many have direct values? Please return a table. How many species are in the both lists of DTOL and CAMBP? And then from these, the tool actually provide the link that you can go and check on GoaT and get the table. So this is the strategy is using LLM to do the parsing. It's not hallucinating because we created, how do I say, tools to actually refine the query and then identify which things go in the query of the actual API. So it's not making up taxon IDs. And so that was the way they Rich found to control GoaT going wild. I mean, the LLM going wild. But it is now ready for testing. So that's the time to use, see if anything is getting too crazy, let us know. And then we are working to make this a proper and better tool. But I'm excited to share that this exists. Now, the other part of the issues identified is data interpretation, right? So I think in the end, it comes down to interpreting where the data is coming from. If it is a real data, if it is an aggregation of several observations, or if it's coming from an inference. And it's really hard for the users to identify when they see a table, values, which ones are actually coming from an inference that is far, far, far back in the tree. So for these, there is not much that we can do in terms of usability. But there is a lot that we can do in terms of tutorials and in outreach, and then talking to people, explaining to them that it's their choice. The data is there. The data that we can find that exists is there. If there is data that is not in GoaT, we are happy to take it and include in GoaT. And then for whatever is missing data, then there will be a value, but you don't have to use it. So that's the main thing. It's a misunderstanding of what to do with the data that is provided to the user. But the user has complete freedom, right, to choose what they want to use or not. So the idea is to create really lots of tutorials, how to pick the best genome size inference. There are many attributes about genome size in GoaT, not only the one called genome size, but people are not exploring them because they don't understand what they mean also. So the idea is we have specific tutorials for them, but also we are creating, we created a glossary on GoaT so you can see what they're about. I think I'm going to rush a little bit from this part. But mainly, these are the resources that we created. And thankfully, Chiara, Luisa, and Anna Bramucci helped me organize the data and the questions and everything we had enough to create. First, more places in the GoaT web to click and find help. Second, structure a wiki in a way that if not other people have questions, we can send them a link with an answer instead of replying over and over again the same thing. We link the wiki to the YouTube GoaT page. If people want to see videos instead of reading material, they can. And then finally, there is also this space where I can share news about GoaT, right? Including the newsletter. So I'm not going to go over these in detail, but now there are many places to find help in the UI. There is the wiki, and then now you can see there are 11 pages, but if you expand, they have many questions that people usually have. So take a time to read, also complain if it's not clear enough, and we can fix them. The YouTube has, especially for new features, that's where I'm going to be showcasing screen recordings. And once a month, you'll hear something about GoaT in the ERGA news. And then finally, the bio project coordination via EBP. And is also another level of misunderstanding of the community of what is the purpose of GoaT and what is the purpose of the tool as a coordination place, right? So we try to create many entries in the wiki about the EBP and then showing that GoaT is not a form of dibs and this is the species that I'm marking my territory, but actually a source of a place to start collaborations. But now, at least internally for EBP affiliates and people that are sequencing for the EBP, we have the office hours hosted by Anna and Fang. And the idea is to have people over. If they have questions that we think everybody have, then they will become tutorial and they will go to these resources in GoaT. So moving forward is really creating a transparent place where people can see what's going on with GoaT, see we are doing the work that they requested, and then creating tutorials to actually use the resources that people request. So an example is this. We are currently restructuring the entire sequencing status to accommodate more statuses like the public requested. But as you can see, they link to each other and they have to be done really seamlessly. And people are already providing a subset of these statuses, but we don't want to mess with how people are using GoaT currently. So the plan is to implement this through this year and then shift to all of this new format by 27. So the priority is data curation, make sure that EBP data is correct, is updated, but also include a lot more of data that is helping projects prioritize their sequencing efforts. So conservation, habitat, red list, all of that is coming to GoaT this year. And then most of our efforts, I still think that should be in outreach. So creating tutorials based on real life issues, right? Questions, go from an email thread to a set of slides for tutorial is useful for people, I think. And then also envisioning other strategies for the dissemination of what GoaT can do is a good idea. So for now, in terms of ERGA, we'll have updates in the IT subcommittee monthly. I'll be bugging people just to say here, there is some new functionality, but also media and newsletter. This is just a summary of places to click for people that have my slides. And a lot of people is involved in making GoaT what it is. So I just wanted to thank everyone involved, but also the people that took the time to respond to the survey. And if I have time, I'll take any questions.